got a call coming in at Abundant Life Christian Church.
The shooting at Abundant Life Christian School adds to the bleakest of statistics. It marks at least the 83rd school shooting of this year in the United States. It surpasses 2023 for the most shootings in a single year since CNN began tracking these numbers in 2008.
It is a bit surprising to see an increase in school shootings at the same time we're seeing a decrease in the overall murder rate.
Of the school shootings this year, 56 have been reported on K-12 campuses, 27 on university and college campuses. The incidents have left at least 38 people dead and more than 100 others wounded, according to CNN's analysis of events reported by the Gun Violence Archive, Education Week, and Everytown for Gun Safety. The deadliest school shooting of the year in the U.S., September 4th at Appalachia High School near Winder, Georgia, when a 14-year-old suspect allegedly shot 11 people, killing 4 of them. Like today's shooting, the alleged perpetrator at Appalachia was a student at the same school, according to law enforcement. Since the COVID pandemic, when there was a major decline in gun violence at schools, every year since 2021 has set new records. Today, the Madison police chief praised the response of officers at the Abundant Life School.
The protocols are simple. Stop the killing, stop the dying, find out who's doing this. And the officers did that, and they did that adamantly.
The police chief says the Abundant Life Christian School did not have a school resource officer, but having one is not a guarantee of safety. The school resource officer at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida, was charged but acquitted of failing to confront a gunman who massacred 17 people there in 2018. The new emphasis on police response comes from a horrific shooting 2.5 years ago. May 24, 2022, at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas. For more than 70 minutes, police failed to breach a classroom while a suspect was opening fire. 19 students and 2 teachers were killed. A school police officer was charged with 29 counts of abandoning and endangering a child. And the school district police chief was charged with child endangerment with known criminal negligence. They pleaded not guilty.
Uvalde was really an outlier in that regard and really emphasized why it's important to immediately confront the shooter.
I just pulled up here a little bit ago, but my mom, obviously, she lives nearby and she watches my kids, so she did give me a call that she saw a ton of police, and obviously my daughter goes here and my nieces and nephews, my sister. So she called me on the phone. She told me, please remain calm. So I was already trying to mentally prepare. But yeah, after a bit, I was kind of like, okay. And she's like, there is an active shooter at the school. She had like an inside source kind of tell her. And I just bolted out, drove down here. I called my husband, and he made his way over here. Obviously, I couldn't get in, but I went around the back to my mom's house and talked with her. And like I said, my sister is involved with the school, so I was able to get a little bit of an inside take on what was going on. But she did tell me that they were okay. But
I saw groups of kids coming out of the school in groups into the church sanctuary, probably as they were in lockdown, and clearing the building and slowly taking out the kids bit by bit by bit.
It just hits home, right? You see it, you know it's happening. There's protocols. It's not new, right? But, you know, I'm sitting at work and somebody says, oh, there was a school shooting. And I'm like, oh, geez, another one? Well, in Madison. Oh, really? Well, now I have kids that go on the west side, my kids, and obviously my nephew here. And I said, well, where at? Well, Abundant Life. What? That's it. I packed my stuff and I drove over here, you know. And I'm working out at Epic right now. Yeah, no, I mean, it still hasn't hit home until I see him, right? You know, my sister's a mess on the phone, you know, you know, we've joked around about how safe a 400 student-bodied school, Christian private school is, right? If it can happen here, it can literally happen anywhere.
I was getting ready for lunch, so it was basically lunchtime, and then I just heard sobbing, and there was a teacher, and she was screaming like, ah, my leg, help, help.
Do you know that teacher well?
Mhm.
What was it like to hear that? Were you
I
scared?
I was really scared and I was really sad.
Well, I heard the news this afternoon and thought we'll just drive by the main drag, and well, there it was, you know. The front door was taken off and nobody was around, and the detectives are in there mopping up the mess.
Did you hear gunshots?
Yeah, I heard them.
Tell me what happened.
We heard them, and then some people started crying, and then we just waited till the police came, and then they escorted us out to the church.
How many gunshots did you hear?
I heard 2.
And what were you thinking? What are you thinking now?
I was scared. Why did they do that? Why? I was in English, and then they said it was a lockdown drill, so we went to the side of the building, and then we went to the church after they came and got us. Yeah. And then we just waited. They gave us some food, and then waited for them to transport us to the hospital and get our moms and dads.
It's sad, you know, to be home and then somebody call you and say your kids school in lockdown and shooting, and you didn't know where they are. And thank God they were safe. But the trauma, it's a lot, because I'm sure they lost friends and teachers, which is not okay. And I don't think they will be okay for a long time, and I'm not.
We got an immediate parent alert through our parent alert system. We got the emergency texts. For me, I was blissfully unaware because I was away from my phone. So once I picked up my phone, I had it on silent. I had no less than 50 texts, and thankfully, in that half hour, my daughter was able to text me. So one of the first texts I read was, "Mom, I'm okay."
What is your understanding, based on what your kids and their friends and other parents have told you? What is your understanding of what happened?
From what I understand, this student was in study hall and started to shoot classmates and a teacher, and multiple teachers were shot. And so that it's one of those things where it happened very, very quickly. As soon as the police arrived on the scene, she turned a gun on herself. And so when a good person with a gun showed up, a bad person with a gun was neutralized. And so it's something that happened pretty quickly. But the school was ready for this. They had prepared for it. They for this sort of a situation, and so they responded, almost perfectly to every aspect of this. And so yeah, I mean, I could tell you about every one of my kids' stories if you wanted, but all the teachers, all the staff handled this just right. They were prepared, even having doors that automatically lock when they're shut. So it really confined this to one classroom. All of that is something that we're grateful for, that as terrible as this is, that it didn't end up becoming a situation that was any worse than it was. It was close to my my third grade son in particular. He had water on his shoes from a pipe that burst from being shot. So he was within range of all of this, and hearing things in the hallways of people running down the hall screaming, "Active shooter, lock your doors." And the principal notified everybody that this was time to do a lockdown drill, that this was not a test. Unfortunately, all the doors pretty much in the classrooms would have been locked. The students knew what to do, and they hid in the corners of their classrooms. My third grade son mentioned that his teacher stood between the door and where the kids were hiding with scissors, ready to do whatever she had to do to defend the kids in that class. So there were a lot of heroes that did the right thing yesterday, and I want to just highlight some of them.
To be honest with you, I'm feeling a little dismayed now. So close to Christmas. Every child, every person in that building is a victim and will be a victim forever. And these types of trauma don't just go away. And we need to figure out and try to piece together what exactly happened. And right now, my heart is heavy for my community. My heart is heavy for Madison, and we have to come together as a community and figure out what happened here and make sure that it doesn't happen in any other place that should be a refuge for students in our community. Today at 10:57 a.m., our team was called to the Abundant Life Christian School in reference to an active shooter. We know that 3 people are dead, including the suspect shooter. We know that the suspect shooter was a teenage student who attended the school. Many of you have asked me about the why of this. Why did this happen? What do we know? What was the motivation? I do not know. But I will tell you this, our detectives are working hard in the investigative process to find out as many answers as we can so that we can further prevent these things from happening, not only in this community, but in other communities around our country. 2 other people have died that died were a teacher and a teenage student. 6 other people were injured. 2 students are now in critical condition in the hospital, and these injuries are considered life-threatening injuries. 4 students are also at other area hospitals with non-life-threatening injuries. We know it was confined to one space. I do not know if it was a classroom or a hallway. There's no evidence that anyone else was injured that was not in the age group. I think you're asking me, how can I say 100% that no child will ever be harmed in school? I can't. No police chief can. But all I can tell you is that we have systems in place so that if something happens, we can respond like we did today. I can tell you that our mayor and our county exec has committed resources to not only public health, but also mental health.
But the most important thing right now is to make sure that we are centering the victims and their families, and that we are doing whatever we can to support them and to help them heal, and to lift our entire community up through this difficult incident. I am on record that I think we need to do better in our country and our community to prevent gun violence. And I hoped that this day would never come in Madison. It is not something that any mayor, any fire chief, any police chief, any person in public office ever wants to have to deal with.
As to a metal detector, no, we do not have. We do abide by the policy of visual scans every morning as students come into the building. So every student is visually scanned before they go into up to their locker spaces or into their classrooms.
The reunification of students and their loved ones who survived this incident is complete. All student survivors have been reunified with their parents. We're still in the process of reunifying some of our staff, our teachers who selflessly stayed back to make sure our kids were okay. We're currently reunifying them with their loved ones as well. We're lucky to have great partners at the ATF. They obviously have a program that you're all aware of called the TRACE program. And so we're working with them to try to find the origin of this, and I have no doubt that we'll be able to do that with their help. They are amazing partners along with our partners from the FBI. 3 people, including the shooter, are dead. The shooter has now been identified as 15-year-old Natalie Rupnow, who went by the name Samantha. She was a student at the school, and evidence suggests she died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. The official cause of death will be released by the Dane County Medical Examiner pending the conclusion of their examination. I don't know whether Natalie was transgender or not, and quite frankly, I don't think that's even important. I don't think that's important at all. I don't think that whatever happened today has anything to do with how she or he or they may have wanted to identify. And I wish people would kind of leave their own personal biases out of this. We have people who showed up to work today to help kids be better who are not going home. And we have lost members of our community who are children, including the shooter. So whether or not she was, he was, they were transgender is something that may come out later, But for what we're doing right now today, literally 8 hours after a mass shooting in a school in Madison, it is of no consequence at this time. After looking at the computer-aided dispatch system, it seems as if a call came from a second grader. It actually read, the call came from a second grade teacher.
Got a call coming in at Abundant Life Christian Church, 4901 for Engine 5 and Medic 5 for a shooter, just advising someone was shot. Okay, I'm hearing multiple things, possibly 1 deceased, maybe 6 people injured, at least 2 shot. I've got 2 medics and Engine 5 assigned. How many more should I get?
Copy. Let's make this an active shooter incident. We'll take this up on Orange.
The past 24 hours have been a flurry of emotion, sadness, anger, disappointment, grief.
Madison's police chief fielding the many questions swirling around Monday's shooting at Abundant Life Christian School, like how did a 15-year-old female student get a gun? And why did she open fire, killing a teacher and fellow student and injuring 6 others before authorities say she turned the gun on herself?
Identifying a motive is our top priority. But at this time, it appears that the motive was a combination of factors.
Investigators also conducted a search of the shooter's family home on Monday. It's illegal under Wisconsin law for anyone to intentionally sell, loan, or give a dangerous weapon to someone under 18, with some exceptions such as hunting or military service.
We also want to look at if the parents may have been negligent. At this time, it does not appear to be the case.
One retired FBI agent suggests parental liability could come into play in another way.
If she made overt actions and overt statements that she wants to kill and they didn't do it, that should be considered too.
What is known is that this school shooting marks the 83rd this year, the most on record for school shootings as tracked by CNN since 2008.
Our daughter doesn't like that they do drills every single month for active shooters, but she's fairly glad now that they knew what to do.
In Madison, Wisconsin, I'm Ivan Rodriguez reporting.
So let me start with just what has happened actually yesterday before I begin my other comments about the horrific shooting yesterday in Madison, Wisconsin. Of course, it's another school shooting, another community being torn about and torn apart by gun violence. And of course, our nation mourns for those who were killed, and we pray for the recovery of those who were injured and for the entire community. But look, as we hold our loved ones close this holiday season, we as a nation must renew our commitment to end the horror of gun violence, both mass shootings and everyday gun violence that touches so many communities in our nation. We must end it